All right, the decision. LeBron. I guess it's as good a time as any. This book, by the way, Mark and I were talking about it yesterday. It's 750 pages, ESPN. It was going to be 1,300 or 1,100 pages. Personally, Mark, would you mind if it were 1,100 pages?
I wish it was.
I wish it was, too.
I do wish it was in 2 volumes, though. It's so huge to carry around.
It is really gigantic. It's too heavy. But maybe it'll make you hotter yet. Your hotness delusion syndrome will no longer be a syndrome after you carry this book around for a while. It's gigantic.
Yeah.
But it never disappoints. Every page. I mean, you read so much about management decisions, which normally I would be interested in that sort of thing, but it's ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool stuff.
And you know the end too, which is a little weird. I mean, you know it all works out.
Yeah.
But it's kind of fun to hear people rag on each other.
Well, really ESPN in their own way is involved in everything relating to sports in the last 30 years. They're somehow involved peripherally or maybe as a rejected party.
At some point, you'll have to read the John Walsh story. The guy who took over SportsCenter, made it more. I guess what's the word for it?
I think he did a lot of things to SportsCenter. One, I think his first goal was, of course, to make it journalistically, very strong. But the journalistic standards are second to none.
Remember the story about that Olbermann told the guy who had to pick him up?
Oh yeah. Why don't you just tell the story?
You can tell it.
Why was Olbermann had to pick him up?
No, Olbermann told the story about one guy who did the runs to because they had their own driver because they're constantly going to the airport to pick up film because everything was basically tape delayed. Yeah,
that really was strange to read about him because that's not that long ago. They were constantly getting overnighted highlights and packages, and to think that they had to operate on that. And they used to run promos where the tapes were constantly getting into the last second.
Yeah,
and they'd rush him in the machine just as the guy's reading the intro. That was very real.
Yeah, the story about Berman too at the Super Bowl, who had to do all the highlights without looking at the film. Someone he knew the game so well.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, so John Walsh, I think the guy's name was, he's going to take over SportsCenter and kind of shape the place up. So they send the driver to the Radisson to go pick him up. And he's like, well, what does he look like? I have no idea who this guy is. And they told him he's an albino.
Looks like Santa Claus.
He's picture Santa Claus, a little thinner, and at age 45. So he pulls up to the hotel, and there's a big sign on the front of the hotel that said, "Welcome, National Albino Group Association." So he walked in. He said everybody looked like a 45-year-old Santa Claus. He said after an hour he eventually found him.
Would that be weird?
I know.
So bizarre.
It sounded so strange.
Well, wouldn't that be like
all these middle-aged albino guys?
It would be like
just hundreds of them.
It would look like a Star Wars bar.
And Walsh goes, I've barely seen any albinos in my life, and here I look around, and there's thousands of them that look like me. People keep coming up to me and congratulating me on a speech that I didn't even give. So apparently, to albinos, every albino looks the same as well.
Wow.
Really funny,
fascinating.
There's a lot of good little quick stories in the book.
Yeah, there are just millions of them. I mean, you can pick this book up, open it anywhere, and you'll enjoy it.
Dan Patrick and his fart wars with Gary Miller.
I haven't gotten to fart wars yet. I'm very disappointed. But I have found the decision, with the finals, and it appears that the Miami dream is going to come true, which pisses a lot of people off. Come on, Dallas. Can't they at least make a series out of this? Oh, I'm going to be so bummed. Plus, if they win the next 3 years or 4 years or 5 out of 6 or 3 out of 4, or I just do not want this to come true. It just disgusts me. But anyway, the decision was the program, of course, that LeBron agreed to in order to announce the decision, not a decision, the decision, to join,
And this fall, man, it's very tough. And this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach and join the Miami Heat.
How did he decide to say, take my talents to South Beach? I'm incredulous, by the way, when it comes to draft day, how many guys talk about a place to showcase their skills? That term is, who came up with that? It's disgusting. High school kids say it on signing day, too.
Yeah.
High school kids say it a lot.
Yeah.
So anyway, the decision. Who thought up this abortion? Who agreed to this abortion? Not only was it offensive from the standpoint of letting the teams know. There were 4 or 5 teams that desperately wanted this guy that put amazing pitches together to attract LeBron James. I mean, it's almost sick when you think about how heavily these people begged him to play for their teams. And he actually allowed the losing teams, the teams that didn't get him, he allowed them to learn this from the decision. This is how they found out. Their efforts went for naught.
And this fall, man, it's very tough. And this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach and join the Miami Heat.
Oh, God. I mean, it's easy to understand why the ownership of the Cavaliers was so pissed. And I really got a kick out of that when they went public. It was great. In the aftermath of the decision, the ESPN special in which LeBron James announced in an exclusive interview he's moving from Cleveland to Miami, ESPN officials may have felt as if they were dodging brickbats and rotten tomatoes hurled by an angry mob. Seldom had an ESPN program produced such unanimity of response. Everyone hated it. They talk about Maureen Dowd, distinguished yet entertaining op-ed columnist for the New York Times, who stepped down from a fairly lofty perch to write not only about television, but about cable and sports television as well. Apparently, the interview with LeBron had qualified as a genuine cultural event, something to be analyzed for its significance as well as pummeled for its shameless commercialism. Dowd referred to the interview as a special and specially obnoxious show, which amounted to 28 minutes of contrived suspense that she compared to The Bachelor, but without the rose for the winner. James moved from Cleveland to what Dowd called My-Am-Me. Might be good for him, she speculated, but she lamented the fact that James seems to have no idea of the public relations damage he has inflicted upon himself. And I'd say that's very true. I mean, he knows now. He understands now. He seems to suggest, though, that this is something directed at the three of them, but he takes the brunt of it for some reason. No, it's all about him.
He thinks it's because they're going to Miami, because they're all together and going to Miami. It's really how they handle themselves.
No, it's entirely about how he made this decision. It's really a lot of it has to do with this show, the hatred. Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, ESPN officials still had plenty of consolation courtesy of Nielsen Media Research. It seems the decision had been a decisive hit for ESPN, registering a very unusual 7.3 rating for ESPN, an audience estimate at just under 10 million homes. The ancient line about crying all the way to the bank was apt once more. Jim Gray. Turns out Jim Gray played a huge part in this. Jim,
who's the perfect person, by the way.
Yeah, no, he was.
He loves himself.
Yeah, and he's kind of a campy figure. Mm-hmm. You know, for a campy show, to handle it in this way was definitely in that campy arena, and he gives something like this credibility, and he did. And it was his idea, basically.
I used to really like Jim Gray, but
I did too. He started to bum me out.
This story and then the Eric Dickerson story kind of bothered me.
Yeah, Maverick Carter, who's the CEO of LeBron James Marketing Company, was sitting with Ari Emanuel next to the Lakers bench at Game 2 of the Finals between the Celtics and the Lakers. Carter being the head of LeBron's marketing company, Emanuel is his agent.
Who is Ari Gold on Entourage.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's Rahm Emanuel's brother.
Oh, okay.
And Ari Gold is based on him.
Damn, I did not know that.
Yeah, he's like the #1 agent.
Ari Gold is based on
Ari Emanuel.
And that's Obama's man, the mayor of Chicago's brother. Wow.
Yeah, Rahm.
Sure. Okay. I went to that game with my wife. This is Jim Gray again, as a guest of the commissioner. Ooh!
That's Jim Gray.
During halftime, I walked down and say hello. I've known Maverick for a long time. I've done an interview with LeBron when he was in high school. I was there when he was drafted. I did the broadcast of his first game as a pro, so I have a long history with him. I asked, Maverick, how's this free agency process going? This was before it could actually start, and he said, good, there'll be a lot going on, a lot of interest. So we chit-chatted, and then I said, I'd like to have the first interview with LeBron when he decides what he's doing. He says, okay, we'll think about that. Sounds pretty good. But by the end of the conversation, I said, better yet, Maverick, why don't we do this? Why don't we go by an hour of network time? You produce the show. You own the show. I get to do the interview, and you have LeBron make the announcement on where he's going to go. Before I got the last 3 words out of my mouth, Ari said, that's a brilliant idea. That's unbelievable. Maverick, you ought to do that. Then Maverick looked at Ari and said, okay, you want to handle it? Ari said, yeah, that's great. Let's do it. Maverick then said, you know what? We can raise a bunch of money for charity so that no one will think LeBron is going to profit from this. No one will think LeBron is going to profit from this. And by the way, that was the most half-ass charity thing. A bunch of kids sitting there, probably bored. Oh, yeah, that would have been a hideous. Can you imagine being a kid and being stuck sitting there quietly for all that time?
Through that. Ugh.
Yeah, it was really, really stupid.
I watched it on TiVo and it was boring. You'd speed through stuff.
So, let's see, where was I? Okay, there's a bunch of money for charity, so no one will think LeBron's going to profit from this. Then Maverick told me to stay in touch with him, and Ari, and that was that. What happened was that Ari and Maverick started trying to buy an hour on a network. They came back and said, do you mind if we do this on ABC and ESPN? They really should have first choice because they're the network that carries a lot of LeBron's games and the finals. ABC was going to do it, and then Jim said he heard that Steve McPherson had talked to Skipper and Ari had talked to Clinkscales, who said, we'll donate the time. ESPN assigned a man named Bob Rauscher, who had been there a long time, to produce the program. 3 or 4 days before the show, Gray says, I called Bob just so I know what the format was, and he told me what would go on in the first segment, what would go on in the second segment, so on and so forth. I called my friend Eddie Fabershaw to help me out as a friend and consult on the project. He was not authorized, wasn't paid a penny. He'd been through a lot of wars with me at NBC and ESPN. He's a wonderful guy. I needed someone to collaborate with since I wasn't hearing anything from ESPN. So I tell Bob what I want to do, 10 or 12 questions before we get to the big one, because I think it's important to establish who knows, when he let them know, how tough this was, and who had influence. I gave them an idea of almost all the questions. So LeBron knows exactly what's coming. Rauscher says, we agree, absolutely, go ahead. I said, but you have to leave me room to follow up in case he says something unexpected. I need to be able to listen. Rauscher said, no problem, we'll get it, we got it. I could see that he was happy. This is LeBron. He was with LeBron 2 or 3 hours before the show because they taped a segment for the charity. And Gray says, I could see he was happy. His fiancée was with him along with his guys. He was laughing, enjoying himself. Yet it wasn't a pull out the champagne kind of thing. I didn't want to ask him anything because I didn't want to risk something slipping up. But I did ask Leon Rose, have the teams been informed? And he said, they will be when you go on the air. We're going to let them know. So that was really the only question I knew the answers to. I didn't want to know the answers to any others. I wanted to be real. So after the fact, Gray took a lot of crap over this. And I guess, is that just because, well, it was his idea, but, as the face of the show, I guess naturally people are going to pile on him. Although I don't know why. I mean, LeBron didn't have to agree to it. His people didn't have to agree to it. I mean, it's all about LeBron. Without LeBron, there's no show. And Gray's kind of pissed off about this, too. He says, in fact, so it's convenient for them to say after the fact, the teams, the losing teams, we would have preferred that we got to it earlier. I think they mean the decision there, too. But ultimately, it's in the interviewer's hands. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, these are LeBron's people that said this. We would prefer that we got to it earlier, but ultimately, it's in the interviewer's hands. Well, they were in cooperation with the interviewer. So to throw me, Jim Gray, under the bus and say, our hands are off this, we didn't pay him, he's not part of it, we wouldn't have had anything to do, come on. Who's John Skipper, Mark?
I believe he's the head of ABC Entertainment.
Okay.
Or Sports. An ABC executive.
He says, on balance, the way we did it had some upsides and some downsides. Of course, ABC owns ESPN, so that's why they're talking about it. Steve McPherson called me. He said Ari had talked to him about a time buy on ABC, but said, they really should be talking to you. This thing doesn't fit into our schedule. You know why we said yes? The first date they gave us is the 14th. We want to do as a lead-in to the ESPYs. Then they called and said, it won't hold till then. We'd like to do it on the 8th. I said, okay, we'll do it. Even though I knew we were losing the lead-in. I thought it was worth it for the relationship purposes with Ari, Maverick, and LeBron. So this is all about, really, ESPN and ABC.
Kissing their ass.
Yep. I also thought we'd do a good number. It would position us at the epicenter of sports decisions. We did negotiate what I thought was a reasonable way to go, which was we'll do an hour special, but you guys will be responsible for the Jim Gray segment. We'll take some level of distance from that. We worried about allowing LeBron to manage the process, but Ari said that Jim Gray had brought him the idea and he wasn't going to cut Jim Gray loose. We ultimately agreed with that because this was big enough news. Look, I did the deal. This is a fault of mine. I was responsible for putting it together, and then I turned it over and let those guys execute it. Whether it's a fault of not being enough of a hands-on manager for all things, at least the rationalization I made in my mind is I've got a lot going on. Then back to Jim Gray, who says, we never had one conversation about money. I never asked for a dollar, never negotiated for a dollar, never took a dollar. Boy, that's amazing. Jim Gray wasn't. I don't understand that. Well, I guess just so he could be the guy who was sitting there with a microphone in his hand when LeBron said, I'm taking my chances out.
Everybody knows.
Ooh.
He doesn't need publicity. Everyone knows who Jim Gray is.
So this fall, man, it's very tough. And this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach and join the Miami Heat.
The "this is very tough" part of that is so fake. You know?
Yeah. Oh, no.
Pause
Entirely.
This is very tough and stuff and bleep.
Yeah, so tough. He cared so much about the losers in the process that he didn't even bother to call them and tell them after all they put into that. Oh, my God, those people worked so hard to kiss his ass.
Yeah, Gilbert had no idea, right?
No.
He was pissed.
So Gray says he never took $1. I believe ESPN was asked to pay me, and they said, Jim's coming as part of the package. We're not paying him. I was told 2 days before the interview that I was booked with ESPN Travel. I have the emails. ESPN did pay my expenses. After the show, I never heard one negative word from ESPN. Not one. I had a meeting with John Skipper. He told me we got the highest rating in the history of the network other than the NFL. Only 2 other shows beat us. USC Ohio State football game and Mark McGwire's 61st home run. So my interview was the highest rated, it was the highest rated studio show in the history of ESPN.
He loves himself.
God,
he does. Yeah, he continues. Listen to this. I worked for this. I created this. I came up with the concept. Maverick Carter and Ari Emanuel are 2 of the most stand-up, honorable, loyal people I've ever been engaged with in television in all my 35 years. When ESPN wanted to replace me and throw me under the bus, they stood firm and said, nope, Jim Gray is with us. He gave us the idea. He is tied to this, and we're not going to change.
Good God.
I had the first interview with Kobe after the sexual allegations. I had the first interview with Mike Tyson after the ear biting. It won an Emmy. And I had the first interview with him after he got out of prison. It got tremendous critical acclaim.
Boy, he must be feeling awfully insecure to have to list all of his accomplishments all of a sudden, huh?
I had Ron Artest after he went into the stands. I'm the only guy who Barry Bonds sat down and talked with after he broke Hank Aaron's record and after he broke Babe Ruth's record. I did the first interview that Tiger Woods gave when he was 8 years old. When I grow up, I'm going to win all the majors and beat all the pros. It was turned into a very famous and memorable commercial, okay? There isn't a track record like this in sports. So all these guys who are dismissive and say, why him? He's this, he's that, he's a sideline reporter. They have no idea. They're all jealous. Jealousy is a horrible thing.
Wow. Didn't Bob Hope interview Tiger when he was about 3 or 4 anyways?
He did.
Oh, yeah. He had him on there putting. Remember that infamous...
What's he talking about? I didn't have the first interview with
What
Tiger.
An arrogant... Look at this guy.
He didn't even mention... Earlier in the book, remember, he took credit for being the first person to actually break news on ESPN by interviewing Eric Dickerson.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't because of a scoop or any digging, it's because he was friends with him.
And tell me this. Why are Jim Gray and Eric Dickerson, they're just peas in a pod. I mean, how did they get to be such buddies?
I don't know.
Boy,
it's ridiculous.
ED.
Sounds like he's got some real problems.
Remember ED working on the sideline?
Oh, do we still have any ED?
Oh, my God, was that funny? Oh, was he bad? Oh, was he bad? We got a break in about 2 minutes, but see if we can find some ED. If not, we'll find it after the break, hopefully.
Oh, my God, there's a ton.
Oh!
What's going on, ED? Demon.
It's unfortunate, it really is.
I would too.
Okay.
Check in with Eric. ED?
Camera. I don't have a camera.
All right, ED's going to get that camera in a moment.
I've noticed that those field reports don't go half as well when we don't have the camera.
ED, what's shaking down there?
Seaman, back to you, Al.
Try two.
Well, Al, as I watch Testaverde, he kind of seems kind of off. And, you talk about that nerve that he had, a sting or whatever you want to call it. That's what we called it years ago. But it seems like it has him a little bit off. He's a little bit disorientated. Because I had the same thing as a player. As a running back, it's a little bit different. But as a quarterback, it's even worse because he seems to not even be throwing as accurate as he normally throws the football.
Isn't it amazing how many people will say disorientated? I mean, a lot of people think that's a word. Oh, ED.
Okay. ED, what's shaking down there?
Well, 2 years ago, John Shaw asked me to go to the NFL Combine and evaluate players. And you always meet someone that's very interesting. That guy for me was Dre Bly. I asked Dre Bly this question. If you saw me coming at you full speed, what would you do? He said, I would take you and cut you down about right here and cut you down to my size, 5'8", 185 pounds. Well, I was so impressed with his confidence, I told them they should draft this guy, and they did. And I think it worked out pretty well for the Rams.
You know what's really great about that is that a play is occurring.
Exactly.
He's just rambling on.
They have no chance to call the play, not even a chance.
As we go down to the field, and Eric.
I'm here with Kurt Warner. Kurt, do you think this game means more to Tennessee than it does to the Rams?
We need to pick it up, start playing Ram football.
Now, what do you think that it would take for people to start believing that the Rams are for real?
I think we got to go out and be consistent every week. We did it all last year, but we need to come out and show people that we're the same type of team. We're an even better team, and we need to be consistent each and every week that we come out and play.
Thank you, Kurt.
You bet.
Over to Melissa Stark on the Titans sidelines.
Oh, boy. Let's see. Should we try? We got time for one more.
Check in with Eric Dickerson. Eric?
Now, the officials have a brand new flag. Last season, Orlando Brown was struck in the eye by an official's flag and will not play this season. Now, the league has made some changes. Jerry Seaman, head of officials, say they will not use buckshots or BBs like they used in previous years. They will use sand. Now, one thing they cannot do is throw these flags directly at the players.
Okay. I didn't know they did.
Thanks, Eric.
ED, ladies and gentlemen, there's some more. Boy, we got a lot of ED, don't we? Well, he was that season, boy. So ED came in. Was that the first year that Dennis Miller started?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
And
God!
Fouts.
They
Fouts?
just really bungled that year. Didn't
Remember
they?
that classic SNL sketch?
Oh, I love those with Will Ferrell and
Jimmy Fallon was Dennis Miller and Tracy Morgan. I think was Eric Dickerson.
Oh yeah, good stuff.